With us, of course, it's time to begin our first conversation for today, and our talking point will be on the Southeast political situation and security situation as well as economic situation, because everything that's happening is actually affecting every sphere of that Southeast region. We do have one of the prominent Southeast political leaders, Chief Dan Ulasi, who on Monday again visited the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOP. He has done that before, so he will be leading us into what transpired this time around and the result of the initial visit. Thank you so much. Chief Dan Ulasi is here with us to tell us all of this. Thank you very much, Chief, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
All right. You've been there before. You went again. Some people would say after your first visit, by now, maybe things would have gone down, maybe security-wise in the Southeast, and then probably the release of Nnamdi Kanu would have happened from all your engagements. What's going on?
Well, I have to explain first that I didn't plan to come for this visit. So only on Saturday, that had an emergency meeting message that he wanted to see me. So I had to rearrange all the protocols I had for the weekend, and then I was lucky to have a flight on Sunday. So yesterday I went, but rather unfortunately, I was there with his father-in-law and one of the attorneys. For one reason or the other, I didn't see him. And we waited till about 4 o'clock. The father-in-law saw him. He continued asking, where is his uncle? He wants to see me, he wants to see me. But let that be as it is. I didn't see him, but at least the messages he wanted to discuss with me were sent across to his father-in-law. So, but I decided that I'll come back next week. I taking him to the Supreme Court. He asked that I should try, please come to the Supreme Court so that you can see me.
So why would you think he was not allowed to see you
That
this
is what
time?
I don't
Because
want
I know
to.
you've been there before and you saw him and you discussed with him, isn't it?
And I praised the DSS for a good job. Yesterday too, they received me well, I didn't know what happened because we were 3 on the list. And by the judgment of Mrs. Yanko, of which of the courts, 3 people are supposed to see him and that they must see him. So, and nobody told me any reason why I could not see him yesterday, And he continued telling them from inside that his uncle was waiting, that he wanted to see me, but I couldn't see him. But be that as it may, the father-in-law passed on the message because he wanted to discuss where we stopped the last time, how far the messages he asked me to pass on to our people, especially the sit-at-home on Monday, what is going on, the level of violence, what do we do? And it is painful that a boy who is in that, languishing in such an environment is thinking about the well-being of his people. I became very emotional about it, I don't think our people understand what that young man is passing through. Very brilliant. And when I use the word brilliant, I use it in all its, forms. Very brilliant, well-spoken young man. And what is his crime? His crime that he's asking of justice, fairness, equity for his people. And like I normally say, there will be no peace without justice anywhere in the world. You need to have a recognition. You can see all the things being written in the papers. Is Nnamdi Kanu responsible for what is happening in bandits? Is he responsible for Boko Haram? Is he responsible for herdsmen? The whole country is blood down now. And like I was discussing with my former PRP members, just about 2 years ago before he died, Dr. Junaidu Mohammed, we all did PRP. We laid Aminu Kanu at Enugu Airport in 1979 after he came for Southeast tour. And I asked him a particular question. Aminu Kanu turned and said, Dan, that was the day he made me his special advisor for the whole East. He said, Dan, Igbos are not capable of a revolution because those who build don't destroy. Your people have done so much in this country that they can't. But any day we see crisis, bloodletting, violence in the north, let us know that that's the beginning of the end of Nigeria and that we should watch it. Dr. Junaidu Mohammed reminded me this a few months before he died. He said, this is what is happening in the north. And everybody appears to be nonchalant about it. People are now being killed. And you remember in this program about 2 years ago, I said we're approaching the level of Afghanistan. So every news now is 200 killed, 100 killed, kidnapped. This is the normal news in Nigeria. And tell me how a president will go from India to Dubai to New York, asking people to come and invest where? You would have expected that this president would have sat down, looked at the Nigerian problem. What is the IPOD problem? What is it that they are demanding? There's nothing dialogue cannot sort out. And Buhari dumped this boy for the past how many years in cell. That is the legacy of Buhari. No discussion, military this. They are killing everybody everywhere in this country now. Is that the peace? Is that the environment where investors will bring in their money? So I find it difficult really to know where we're going because I don't know where we're coming from as at this point in time.
All right, Chief Dan, I know that a few months ago, I think between the ending of July and 1st of August, you saw Nnamdi Kanu,
Yes.
and, you know, from your conversations with us within that period, it lasted over an hour. And you discussed very important things that had to do with the Southeast security. You also said that later on details will be given. Now you've come, and even though you didn't see him in person, you still had the messages passed on to you.
Yes.
Now, in terms of solutions moving forward, I hear you talk about, you know, the need to get him out, the need to actually find, you know, some sort of lasting solution that will border on peace and mediation. However, in this administration, from the body language of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has there been any further engagement going forward since that trip to be able to engage and for them to understand what needs to be done in order for him to be released to increase the safety of the lives of people in the Southeast?
The problem at the moment is that I don't know who's in charge. Absolutely, I don't know who's in charge in this government because the president is not in the country. So you don't really know, is it Wajabi Amila that is in control or somebody else? Because if the guy was somewhere sitting down to understudy, even though it's his party that ran the affairs of this country for 8 years, but he wasn't part of that government in the true sense of being part of a government. He was the leader of the party, but he wasn't in the executive, so to speak. He would have sat down, like I said earlier, to know what are really the problems of this country. Operative. And the problem in this country today is insecurity, insecurity, insecurity. Have you determined how you want to follow it? This is why I'm making effort. You know, there are things I discuss with Kanu I cannot make public because I've been running around the whole of the Southeast. Every Monday I'm in one state or the other to know how far, you know, the implementation of, you know, to stop stay at home. And it's catching up. A lot of banks, in Enugu, for instance, banks have opened up. A lot of shops open up. You know, we use a lot of methods to get to people. But he's worried that his agitation for fairness for his people does not involve our people killing ourselves. And I think that is the most worrisome part of what he's passing through.
Okay, so but if you look at the emboldening atmosphere, especially maybe those in the Southeast from Imo State region, yesterday was Monday, and the sit at home did still thrive because a lot of people who were supposed to return from a trip from here in Abuja said they were not going to risk it because already over the social media you were seeing videos of some people who were, you know, accosted, you know, in transit when they were trying to move around the city. In terms of the fact that you have said that, you know, these people will not kill their own willingly, but there has been investigation that even those from the Southeast, Igbos themselves, are part of the cabal, part of the cell of those who are killing within those regions. So what sort of messaging can Kanu also bring to fore to encourage some of those young men to sheath their swords?
Look, there's only one solution now. I'm trying as much as possible to reach my former friend, the governor of Imo State. And I pray God that in the next 1-2 weeks I'll be able to reach him. I'll try and reach the Minister of Defense, David Umahi. These are two prominent Igbo sons who are, one is a governor.
Matawali,
He's the chairman of Southeast Governors Forum, he's chairman of Progressive Governors. So he's in a very top level to have access to governance. David Umahi, to all intents and purposes, was one of the best performing governors in this country. If you go
David
to
Umahi, the Minister of Works?
Yes. Why don't you get into what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that we need their influence to put our people together, all our governors, with our legislators, especially at the federal level, to approach the president of this country and ask. We are not begging. The Court of Appeal has discharged this boy from all the charges leveled against him to ask for his discharge, for his release. If Nnamdi Kanu is released today, there will be 90% peace in the Southeast. A lot of people are carrying out criminal activities on the basis of the fact that he's being detained unjustly. If you hear that he's released today, that part of the country would have had some level of peace. And then we can attach our attention to Boko Haram and bandits and herdsmen and what have you. So, but if you don't have a government that is sitting down to have a proper analysis of what the problems are, then it is difficult to know what to do. But I'm interested in what happens in the Southeast now. I must reach the Imo governor, reach Omahi, to organize the other governors with our legislators, especially our senators, to approach the president to get this young man released. That he said he wants justice and fairness for his people. Is it a crime? You may not like his methodology, but what he's asking is not a crime.
Okay, I think
if you go there are hundreds of people in detention in DSS, and more than half of them are Igbos. I got this information yesterday. A lot of people are languishing, dying in that place. What kind of democracy are we running? That people between Benue and Plateau states, and they were not declared terrorists.
All right, Chief. The government of the day at the time Nnamdi was taken in said they were not happy with his methodology. In fact, they believed he was inciting some young people, in the Southeast to take up arms, maybe against state, agencies and all that, or institutions of government. Whether that is the true position of things still remains to be seen. But in your engagement, because if you're saying that if they release Nnamdi Kanu, then the killings in the Southeast will cease, then it will also mean saying that the killings are being carried out by IPOB members, which they have vehemently denied in certain cases. So is it that other people, or other elements of criminality are now using the fact that Nnamdi Kanu is being held and are carrying out this problem, or is it a politically motivated killing? So what exactly do you think is happening?
That's what I just said here about 3-4 minutes ago. That people are using the fact that he's being detained. Criminals use it as a platform now to carry out atrocities. Because those who believe in, frivolities, if you believe in, some form of storytelling, this is happening there. This is happening to Igbos. For instance, look at the government of Buhari. Look at the appointments he made. And it's happening in this same government. 90% of everything that concerns finance in this country goes to Southwest. People are complaining everywhere, not just now in the East. The whole of the North, the Fulani areas are complaining. That you don't make government to be a private business. You don't know what problems that will develop even further. As we're discussing what is going on, people deliberately create more problems. How can one zone have Minister of Finance, Internal Revenue, Central Bank Governor, Post Authority, every component in where the major resources of the country comes out from? One section of the country takes it over. And you think others will go to sleep? There's a limit to which the sleeping dog will lie. So these are problems we inflict on ourselves instead of being fair and just to every section of this country so that there will be peace. They don't want to do it. Why? So what I'm saying is that the problem in the Southeast did not exacerbate before now, because now criminals have taken over. Kidnapping is good business. They catch you 1 or 2, 3 million will part from your family purse. So if they are lucky, they escape, they eat the money. And it's going around the whole country. I mean, the whole the Southeast zone. So that's why I mentioned that I'll try to reach my friend, because Imo appears to be the most affected.
Yes, because I was going to come there.
Yes.
On September 19th at exactly 10 a.m., some security operatives were ambushed and burnt in their vehicle. And, the lives of our security men, police, and all of that were lost in that inferno. A lot of indigenes, it happened in Ehimembano in Imo State. However, both in Imo, in Abia, because Abia is just nexus to Imo, yes, they share the same transit border, have said that isn't it time that there is a state of emergency called in the Southeast as regards the insecurity, because already billions of dollars have been lost in the economic circle of the Southeast. So what then is left is for the governors, like you said, you will speak to the Imo State governor. But before then, isn't it time for a state of emergency to be declared on the state of insecurity in the Southeast?
I don't understand what declaration of a state of emergency will do. Already the Southeast is occupied militarily. That is what the state of emergency will do. Nearly 10% of the Nigerian armed forces and policemen are in the Southeast. Every inch of the ground is occupied. But still, the violence is going on, which shows you that somebody somewhere can help stop that violence. I have gone around the whole of the Southeast to know that even though people don't say it, the love and trust they have on Nnamdi Kanu, you can't begin to imagine it. They believe that he represents the summary of all the ills the Igbos have suffered in this country. That's their belief. Whether rightly or wrongly, they believe that. Most of us believe that, including myself. He is the only voice that we hear now, with everything happening around our place. And if we have good leadership that is honest to itself, our people should be able, and especially when the Court of Appeal has discharged this boy, that all the charges you people are doing has no basis. So it is even easier for a government that is interested in security to release him, make it as a test case. Releasing Nnamdi Kanu based on the legal framework and see what will happen in 1, 2, 3 months. If it doesn't work, then we start talking of this kind of emergency we're suggesting. We have a promise that if that young man comes out, you won't believe the different meetings people are holding, unauthorized meetings, the whole of Southeast. Nobody tells them anything. They just, Nnamdi said this. Nnamdi said we do this. This person said we do this. On top of it, we have the problem with the guy in Finland, complicating he's doing what he's saying based on the fact that Nnamdi Kanu is being held. So you see that most of the atrocities being carried out are based on the fact that this young man is being detained. So why don't government, try one step. Use this avenue, get him out. You have a legal basis of getting him out. Watch him and see whether it improves security in the Southeast. If it does improve security in the Southeast, why can't we as Christians and good Muslims dialogue? And I said the president has a supreme opportunity. He's a devout Muslim, and his wife is a devout Christian. And I believe they read the 2 holy books. Nothing can happen without peace, forgiveness. If we can talk and get problem underway in the Southeast, we can sit down. Boko Haram, they are not, they didn't fall from heaven. They are human beings. Hopefully, most of them are Nigerians. I believe in dialogue. No matter how bad the situation is, I believe in dialogue. Even with the bandits, even if it's economic, it could be discussed. Because when you continue collecting property, resources from somebody's land, and he's hungry, can't train his children, the next thing is violence. So government should be able to sit down. How do we accommodate these people? How do we make them feel part of the resources God has given them in their land? Just like when Ken Saro-Wiwa and his people were protesting in the South, and they killed him. Somehow it does appear artificially that things are quieting down. But that is not peace. Peace is the one that has honesty and justice attached to it. And I would pray this president to sit down and look at how do we engage. Because the country is at the precipice. People, do you know a time in this country people travel at night? You don't travel in the day. People, about 25 years ago, you can move from Enugu to Sokoto or to any part of this country. And nobody will stop you on the highway. Try it now, you end up in a morgue somewhere. You can't try it. And every day we see the security situation in the country, going down, and it does appear nobody's interested.
It's even quite disheartening, the fact that even security officers who are supposed to be providing that security are also being, taken out, which is quite sad.
This is why it is painful to me as an officer of the Biafran army. When I see Nigerian soldiers in uniform, you don't know how much appreciation I have for them, because I know what it means, that their life is on the line. They are being killed, like we said, and nobody supports that kind of thing. Who kills them? Is it impossible to find out who is doing this? How are they doing it? Are they living? Just like Imo governor was saying when he visited the place, something happened. Are these people not part of the community? Is there a conspiracy from outside Igbo land to make sure we don't move forward, that our people should be killed, so that people are encouraged to go and kill security forces? Does the security man you killed, would it make it easier to release Nnamdi Kanu? You see, there are localized problems being engineered by factors you cannot explain immediately. This is why I would expect that if our 5 governors can sit down and tell themselves the truth and organize some serious-minded legislators at the federal level, especially with the Deputy Speaker of the Federal House, we have people. They can sit down this president and talk to him. Let it be the beginning of something. Release this young man There's nothing Nnamdi Kanu has done that is unknown to law.
All right, Chief Ulasi, I'll just step in here a bit for us to crave your indulgence. We'll take a quick break and bring you Kakaki Socials. Rana will be up next with that.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Of course, we are beginning to round off with our first conversation, which we started earlier. And one of prominent Southeast political leaders, Chief Dan Ulasi, has joined us. We're looking at his visit to see Nnamdi Kanu, who is in DSS detention, and what to do going forward to ensure their security returns back in the Southeast. Chief, thank you for your patience. All right, before we went on that short break, you were talking about how we can resolve these issues. And now, many have thought that the Southeast governors, for instance, or the political bigwigs in the Southeast haven't done enough, you know, to ensure that what is going on in the Southeast stops. For instance, we do have Southeast governors, and this sit at home has gone on for a while, even though Nnamdi Kanu has consistently said he's not the one issuing the sit at home. And if some people will even tell you that even government, officers stay at home as well. On Monday, schools are shut, and you can imagine what that has done to the economic situation in the country. Now that there's a new president, beyond you going to visit Imo governor like you talked about and seeing Dave Umahi, the Minister of Works now, what do you think, what do you suggest people from that southeast region should be doing now to ensure that insecurity becomes a thing of the past and of course, meets the president to release, Nnamdi Kanu?
I think on Sunday, the Ohanese, or whatever is left of it, led by Iwanyanwu, they had an Igbo there. So I heard, it was the Sunday I came to Abuja, and I heard he spoke extensively on the insecurity, talked also about the release of Nnamdi Kanu. But this is not the time of spoken words now. It has to be action, and that is why I said, having discussed with Nnamdi Kanu and knowing where he's coming from, and looking at the peculiarities of our zone, I don't think anything else can bring peace in that zone if that boy is not released. If that boy is not released, nothing will bring peace. It will get worse and worse. And that is why the Imo governor I used to know, we used to be quite close friends. He's a very patriotic Nigerian of Igbo descent.
Okay.
And I don't know what's his problem. I've met him once at a funeral since he became governor, and we never met again. David Umahi were quite close, very active, very, he gave honor to good governance. So somebody we all admire. Both of them can organize the other governors to lead a delegation to get this boy out. Because I give a warning. If anything happens to that boy in detention, present and next generation of Igbos will not have mercy on all of us collectively.
All right.
Because there will be serious problem.
All right. I hear your warning loud and clear. I'm sure the presidency also hears it. But just before you go, or we let you go, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, of course, the Supreme Court, what do you expect? What are you looking forward to seeing in terms of outcomes?
I went with my principal the day we did what they call the final presentation. I was with Atiku once. And I listened. That was the day I knew we lost the case at that tribunal. I listened to the chairman of that panel, lambasting, P2B lambasting, Atiku lambasting, the two political parties that put in a petition. Even senior advocate Uche, who was making his presentation, he disgraced him. He told you where he was going. But most importantly, I sat in my room for almost 12 hours or a little more than that, listening to the reading of that judgment. I can bet my life that judge did not write what he was reading. Because it was not fluent, it was not coherent. It is something somebody wrote for somebody and he's just reading it. But let me see what will happen in the Supreme Court. I don't need to. My younger brother is a senior advocate of Nigeria, so I don't want to preempt what happened. But what happened in the first tribunal is nothing to write home about. It's unfortunate it did happen.
All right, thank you, Chief Dan Ulasi, for that. I'm sure that a lot of Nigerians too are waiting, fingers crossed as well, to see the outcomes finally. But like he said, there was a lot of conversations, back and forth, expressions made from Nnamdi Kanu to him in person, and hopefully there will be an end to all the killings in the South, especially one state that is also indicated to run elections in November, and that is Imo State. I want to say thank you to Chief Dan Ulasi for joining us today to give us right to his meeting with Nnamdi Kanu. Thank you so much.
Always my pleasure.